Several wrestlers are pulled from Clash of Champions last minute because of reasons. An injury forces a match to be cut short, and Roman Reigns debuts his new look, his sexy, sexy torso. All hail the Tribal Chief's pecs. I'm Mr. Davis, coming back from my well-deserved week off. I'm sure everything went down smoothly in my absence. I'll check on the company and my prestigious Jam That Championship at the end of this video. Because first, I've got to review WWE Cock Rush 2020, where every title was on the line, apart from mine, of course. That's totally safe. In about 10 minutes. With some last-minute changes having to be made because of reasons. Asuka vs Zelina Vega was bumped off the pre-show and onto the main card, which is the opposite of what usually happens to women's matches. Nikki Cross wasn't medically cleared for her SmackDown title match against Bayley, and the Women's Tag Championship match with Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler defending against the Riot Squad was dropped completely. Fightful Select is reporting these changes were related to last week's COVID-19 outbreak in WWE, and the company have known that Cross wouldn't be able to wrestle for almost a week. But answering a fan speculating Nia and Shayna weren't on the show because they've got the Rona, Baszler herself replied, "Wrong. Guess again." So Nia did, explaining, "My tag partner is expecting." Pregnant woman emoji. Which might be a jab aimed at Becky Lynch, I don't know. It's hard to keep track of who Jax does and does not have work shoot heat with. With the card change up, the pre-show had Lucha House Party taking on Cesaro and Shinsuke Nakamura for the SmackDown Tag Team Championships instead, where, after Cesaro and Nakamura have beaten Lucha House Party on an almost weekly basis, and then took about 90% of the match here, they beat them again. This feud will probably continue. The main card opened with a video package narrated by 16-time world champion John Cena. Because it was just a voiceover, you literally couldn't see him. The in-ring opener, however, was an absolutely terrific ladder match between AJ Styles, Sami Zayn and Jeff Hardy for both the current Intercontinental Championship and the one Sami had to relinquish because of reasons. It was a great way to kick off the main card, with a lot of star power, crazy ladder spots, and Hardy ladder spots, which are several rungs above normal crazy ladder spots. The match was so good, the crowd started chanting, "This is awesome," at the 20-minute mark. Well, actually, some guy in the production truck pressed a button that started a "This is awesome" chant, but it was actually appropriate. And it was capped off with a really inventive finish. Playing 50 Shades of Grey Steel, Sami gave Jeff Hardy a new earring in the form of a massive ladder, handcuffing his piercing to one. He tried to chain AJ up too, but Styles fought back, leading Sami to handcuff his wrist to AJ's, which was a fantastic character beat. If he can't win, nobody can. But then, outsmarting them all, particularly Jeff Hardy, who, lest we forget, was stumbling around with a ladder handcuffed to his ear, Sami produced the key from his mouth, locked AJ to another ladder, climbed up and won. This would have been match of the night if it wasn't for the fantastic main event. Unfortunately, in between those two matches, Raw happened. R-Truth lost his 24/7 title to a lunging Drew Gulak and won it back about an hour later. Now on the main card, Asuka retained against Zelina Vega very decisively in just over 5 minutes, making her tap in the Asuka lock. It was far from the performance Vega needed to reset her character from manager to singles wrestler fighting for a title. Vega then attacked Asuka after the bell, implying this feud will go on for at least 7 more months. Speaking of Raw feuds still going on, Apollo Crews took on Bobby Lashley for the United States title in a decent match, which included Apollo doing an impressive overhead press moonsault combo, but one I'm pretty bored of seeing. Apollo and his not-so-super friends versus the Hurt Business has been going on since lockdown began. Hopefully this is now the end, as Crews decisively tapped out. But don't get your hopes up, because speaking again of Raw feuds still going on, the Street Profits took on Andrade and Angel Garza for the 19th month in a row. They're great wrestlers, all 4 of them, in ring and charisma-wise, but I've seen them wrestle so many times before. They had the same basic template again. Montez Ford was worked over, he built to a fiery Angelo Dawkins hot tag, and the match breaks down. Unfortunately, the only one new spot, an incredible top rope Spanish fly, saw Garza get injured either there or quickly after. He rolled out the ring immediately, and the referee seemingly called an audible, counting 3 despite Andrade kicking out. The third instance of a Raw pin being botched because of an injury in as many weeks, which actually fits with their booking style, doing the same thing over and over again, yet never learning from it. PW Insider is reporting Garza injured his hip, but it's hoped to be not as serious as first feared. WWE is teasing we'll get a rematch to settle the finish. Please just let this feud end. Thankfully, that was the end of Raw's mid-card purgatory for the show. Heel Roman Reigns, who would brutally assault his cousin in just over an hour, gave a speech about kids being leaders, sponsored by Hyundai. The WWE draft was announced for 2 weeks' time, and then Bayley walked down to issue an open challenge in lieu of Nikki Cross not being able to compete because of reasons, which was answered by Asuka in the show's only literal Clash of Champions. Although, ironically, it wasn't literal cock. Because it was a women's match. Bayley took the DQ loss after a fiery few minutes by using the steel chair to then be attacked by a returning Sasha Banks. Sasha got some babyface revenge, attacking Bayley with a chair and kendo stick. Then with Christmas but 88 days away, we got an early edition of the Ghosts of Orton's Past. Drew McIntyre defended his WWE Championship against Randy Orton in an ambulance match in a feud I thought was built around who could hit their finisher in the actual ring, with them not hitting either the Claymore or RKO or punt at SummerSlam, but being tied 3 apiece in attacks backstage at Raw. Instead, WWE went a different, much less subtle route, where Orton was foiled every few minutes by a different person he'd taken out with the punt. Big Show, Christian, Shawn Michaels, and even Ric Flair driving the ambulance at the end all made assists. And narratively, they were very satisfying, with Randy finally getting his receipts. But the competitiveness of the match was lost, with Orton still getting most of the offense despite having 3 different guys attack him. I was much more into the story of Randy versus Drew as wrestlers for their rematch, as opposed to Randy versus Randy's actions from the past, which would have worked better further down the line. Drew won after punting Randy's head, dangling out the ambulance. The main event slot was instead taken by arguably the most predictable match on the entire card. Blue Universal Champion and mega heel Tribal Chief Roman Reigns, taking on that guy from the tag division, Jey Uso. But it was totally the right decision, because they had one of the most emotional matches of the year. They had a terrific 20-minute plus match, with Reigns bullying Jey for the first half, for the Flying Uso to power back with dives and super kicks. It was an excellent, believable comeback, which made Roman's low blow, geniusly disguised in a kick-out, all the more dastardly. Ironically, Jey had made us believe. That's kind of Roman's thing. So he made him pay a lot. Reigns speared Jey. He could have won there, but it wasn't about getting the pin. This was about Jey admitting Roman was now the head of the family. So Reigns kept laying him forearms, punching him in the head, spearing him to the ground. And it was all done differently from the usual WWE heel. Roman wasn't yelling, he was almost calm, but Jey wouldn't give up, forcing Jimmy to throw in the towel. This was excellent storytelling, but Emanade Man 91119 put it best on Reddit when they wrote, Moana 2 was weird, man. So that was WWE Cock Rush in about 10 minutes. What did you think of the show? Let me know in the comments down below, because I'll be replying to people from out of nowhere. This was an absolutely brilliant SmackDown branded pay-per-view, with a boring episode of Sunday Night Raw in the middle. Another pay-per-view which Retribution left alone. Unless Big Show wearing a balaclava was actually a member. B-Swag confirmed. The bookending matches were so good though. WWE Cock Rush 2020 is 4 out of 5. Now it's time to check in with my new best friend, Mr. WrestleTalk, who I put in charge of the channel while I was off last week. Gonna watch some of those great WrestleTalk videos. Let's see how he handled the news.
It was me, Davis. It was me all along.
Oh, son of a bitch. The arm tats aren't real either.
Give me a yes, please.
Mr. WrestleTalk was lukewarm Luke Owen all along, but I fired him. Why didn't Chopper warn me? He literally never brought it up once. At least my championship is safe. There's no way he can hold my precious gold.
Everyone get rowdy for your new champion. Get rowdy, everyone. Louis into it. Get rowdy. Yes, please. Right. Got some more super chats to get through. I'm just having a look at the chat. Everyone seems very happy. Yes, please. And new. Yes, please. Yeah. Oh, look, all these yes, pleases. Yes, please. Oh, it's nothing but yes, pleases in the chat. Yes, please. Yes, please. Yes, please. Yes, please. Yes, please. Yes, please. Oh, it's very nice to see. Thank you all so much.
Thank you. What are the 14 greatest WWE video packages of all time? Relive the power of WWE's post-production department by watching Adam Blompier's latest list on the right, and Tom Cruise is actually going to space. Click the video beneath that for Laurie and that swine Luke Owen talking about all the biggest movie news. I've been Mr. Davis, not your Jam That Champion. For now.